Ladies and gentlemen, this is Aman Haque, and the personification of excellence is on my right-hand side. Sir Isaac Alexander Vivian Richards, one of the legends of the game. Wisden had said he's one of the top 5 cricketers in the world, a gentleman who needs no introduction. On this masterclass that we're talking about for youngsters about batting, how did batting really start for you?
Well, I'll tell you something, the most important thing about batting is the fact that when you get to the crease, and regardless of how, whatever time that you are presenting yourself at the crease, it's about having that balance, that foundation. And you make sure that you mark, tick as well as possible. The most important thing for me, it's about balance. For any youngster who wants to understand the art about batting, it's having that balance. You take your guard and you make sure you have that foundation, because you could never ever launch your batting style, and regardless whatever style you have, you must have a particular foundation.
Right. So if I talk you through a scene, test match or one day, Desmond or Gordon is out in the first few overs, you come out with that great swagger, everybody's looking at you, you're making sure they're looking at you, and
I'm the man then. I'm the man. This is the way, it may sound a little bit arrogant,
right,
but I'm not worried about who is in the field or who is running up to bowl. I am the man then. It's all about me, what I want to accomplish and what I want to get done.
And if the ball is swinging around, it's like a new cherry, are you going to be a little more careful when you're out there?
To be fair, you make sure that you are in an aggressive mood. My style was always to be in an aggressive frame of mind. That the first thing that comes to my mind, I'm looking to come at you. And if I cannot get you, then you start having respect for that particular individual itself in terms of the good deliveries that you know he can muster. Right. So my first move is about coming at you with that aggression. So if ever I get anything that's a little bit loose, I'm ready to pounce on that. Right. And then you have respect for that factor that if it's not there, I'm going to respect the individual who is in front of you.
So every time you came out to bat, I know the whole bowling team is like, okay, we got to get this guy out. All right, he's the legend. We get him out, we win the match. How many, would they sledge at you from the slips down, or you block it out?
I don't mind anything about sledging, because to me, I love a team or a particular fast bowler who is confrontational. If you're not confrontational, you may have me then. But when you're confrontational and you're in my face, I react then. I like to think that you're looking to get me, and I'm going to get you before you do that to me.
You know, for youngsters, defense and attack, right? So when you come on and you're facing, ball is swinging, your defense is very good. When to leave the ball. All
that is important, especially if in England, as we all know, England is a place where you get seaming pitches. The conditions sometimes pretty conducive to swing. And what I think it is so important, because you know these things may be going on in your mind, and you would have seen it happening. Some guys like to get in that defensive mode, that when you are looking to defend, sometimes you miss out on a delivery that you should be scoring on. So it's always nice to just keep your mind open to exactly what's coming at you. So whenever you get that delivery, you deal with it as the way it should be dealt with.
All right, so you probably know how bowlers try to get you out, right? Yeah. So there was, I think Imran Khan used to keep a mid-off over there, slip, they're swinging the ball away. What would you do to circumvent or kind of mitigate those risks, knowing what they were doing to you?
Good delivery. I'll tell you something. If you see you have maybe 3 slips, a gully, you know that something is happening in terms of, that's where I think that particular ball is looking to get you out. Good leaves, I've always said at times, regardless of how aggressive you may be as a batsman, good leaves outside the off stump, especially when you know in your mind what a ball is trying to achieve. So you know where your off stump is. A good leave, in my opinion, the mind must be free to excel the things that you would like to accomplish as a batsman.
So Safib, let's talk about spin, playing spin. Abdul Qadir in Lahore, Chandrasekhar in Bangalore. How do you play spin? Do you get to the ball, or do you play it late? Do you wait for the turn? Are you reading the ball off the hand?
Well, most times you try and pick up what's happening from the hand. But if you're not, the next best thing is maybe off the pitch. And when you, especially when you have leg spinners, you know, who are very crafty in my opinion. Good spinners, good leg spinners like the Shane Warnes, the Abdul Qadirs, and some of the leg spinners that you see in the modern day game. It is, you try and pick what's ever happening from his hand, but I'll tell you a little secret as well too at times. Some of these guys who are bowling, sometimes they look to bowl a leg break and it can be overspun. And that to me is going to be the sort of a flipper. It's going to come onto you a little quicker than normal. And if sometimes those guys hardly know what they're doing, what chances do you have as a batsman? For me, if I'm not picking, I'll try and play it off the wicket. And whenever it's the delivery that is an immaculate delivery, a delivery that you think needs some defense, you look to defend that. And if you're doing that on a regular basis, sometimes these guys are going to experiment. And I'm looking to hurt you when you do that, when you go up into the air. And that is where I think you've got to remain as light on your feet as possible so that at least you can get to him. And that's where I'm looking to do some damage. By coming at you, hurting you, if I can take you down over the top big, I'm looking to do that. And especially if I'm looking to come here and for some reason you see me make that sort of a trigger movement, you're looking to do whatever, and it's just offline, then you can come back, bam, make that adjustment from bap here, and I'm looking to do damage here, either between backward of point, if it's short enough, bang, to hurt you. If it's up in the air full enough, I'm looking to get at you, to hurt you also.
So Viv, let's go back to a little bit of your career. You made your debut in India, and I think it was a good bowling attack in the 70s, mid-70s, Chandrasekhar, etc. I think you got out cheaply in the first few games, but then you came back really strongly with some centuries. So it was an adjustment. You were a young man. How do you look back on that?
Well, I'm going to tell you something. When we first went to India, just the crowds alone in attendance at Test match cricket, it was pretty much frightening. My debut in Bangalore, you had 60-odd thousand. This is for Test matches. You know, I'm walking out in Bangalore for my very first Test match, and the firecrackers and everything is going. I'm saying, Jesus Christ, it's like I'm in a war zone. You know? But then for some reason, I think I wasn't quite in the best frame of mind mentally to have dealt with that, because it was my very first Test match. So I didn't quite trouble the scorers that much. I remember scoring 3 and 4. But then I said, yeah, that was the sort of baptism that I needed. The second Test match, 192 clicks, man. 192 clicks, you know, and that sort of set the foundation for me to feel like I belong here.
So Viv, let's talk about some of your biggest accomplishments, some of your best knocks, batting knocks. So one of the things that, let's say as a captain, and then you were also under Clive Lloyd, thrashing England, was that a little bit unfair? 5-0 in England, and then they came down to West Indies when you became captain, and you thrashed them 5-0 there. Germany was like 7-1 in football. You know, you're a little nice to your opponents, but you guys, why was it 10-0?
We had a good saying. We had an old saying which we said in England that we whitewash you in England and blackwash you in the Caribbean. People ask that question most times about why England? Because they were colonial masters. And if you can get one up on your colonial masters, that to me is a win-win situation. And I was pretty much aware about that.
And then 189, that knock where you with Michael Holding in the end, you just, Bob Willis, was it Dilly and Foster?
Yeah, I think it was Foster. You had Foster, you had Bob Willis, Ian, my good mate Ian Botham. But that was a good wicket that day, you know. We got ourselves in a bit of trouble. It wasn't all that bad a wicket for the score. I think we were 114 for 7. Eldin Baptist came and gave some support, and then Michael towards the end.
The modern day game, T20, you're coaching the Quetta Gladiators, you have one-day internationals, the World Cup coming, Test cricket. How do you tell the modern day batsman to be good in all three formats?
To be fair, you've got to understand what you know you're good at. And to me, cricket is cricket. Sometimes I try to define at times why coaches will look at a guy and say, oh, you are just designed for Test match cricket, you are just designed for T20 and all the other disciplines that's out there. To me, the game is you making that particular adjustment. You look at Safraz, he plays in basically all formats. You have the Joe Roots, Virat Kohli, for example. All these guys, they ain't any one-dimensional sort of a cricketer. They go out and they can get it done at whatever level. And to me, it's just you making that adjustment, knowing exactly the requirements on that particular day, for you to administer what you know best.
If the West Indian cricket team, 1984, I'm going to pick 84 because you had Holding, Garner, Marshall, Roberts. If you guys were playing around today, you'd be cleaning everybody up. Come on,
No,
right?
so,
Come on. Yeah.
No, I was so glad those guys was on my side. Sometimes you get asked that question, that how would you face against your guys? Well, we would have faced them in our domestic cricket and would have done fairly well. But it was nice to know that those guys was on your side. They were like your bodyguards because, the fast bowlers on the other side wasn't going to take much liberties with you, knowing exactly what they had was to face at some point.
So Viv, look at the size of this bat. I mean, if you had this bat, you'd be hitting what, 10s? I mean, you were hitting 6s back in the day more than anyone. So if you had a bat like this, don't you sometimes feel you'd be 12s? 12s or 10s?
I'm not forgetting, sometimes some of these boundaries, like you have your kindergarten match. Some of the boundaries can be very small. So to be fair, yeah, I think I would have. I'm not going to lie and tell you. I'm not going to be arrogant and say that, this modern style of the game itself, I would have appreciated.
Do you think it's favoring batsmen too much?
Not really. Yeah, I think at times it can, especially when you have the boundaries that small. If you have decent enough boundaries, then I think it gives each and everyone an opportunity for them to excel.
The World Cup is coming, but what's more important on the world stage is this it for the West Indies now? They look like they're coming up into becoming the powerhouse they were under you and Clive Lloyd. What do you think of the team? They just thrashed England. How do you feel about them?
That was pretty pleasing. That was pretty pleasing to see. And obviously I was in Antigua for one of the test matches, which was played in Antigua. And the excuses that can be made, especially when England loses, sometimes I find it's a mouthful at times or earful. And I'm not going to buy into that. West Indies found a new lease of life. In my opinion, just looking from the outside, England would have played not their best bowling unit in Barbados and in Antigua to maximize exactly what was in the pitch. West Indies did it much better than they did.
So Viv, thank you so much for your time. I know the PSL is on and the coaching is, they're looking for you, and wish you all the best. You guys lift the cup this year for PSL 4.
Thank you so much.
Gladiators.
Thank you so much, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Sir Isaac Vivian Alexander Richards.